I've got a team of 7, 6 women, 1 guy, and that's market leading in kind of the legal sphere. And I'm not someone who would typically find themselves in the legal profession. But that's what led me to set up the Interparliamentary Forum on Emerging Tech. Because if it was based on data, I wouldn't be a lawyer. Because I'm first to university and my mum was a teenage mum. So that's what led me to set that up, because I didn't want us to be defined by data. And I think I said that last year, for those that were here, that was the piece that I was focused on, and we had an amazing keynote around that. So what was I up to since then? Now, I did actually smash the award. For those that were here last year, that big award, I put it, as I collected my coat, someone knocked it, and marble and glass smashes it. I know, but you know, it was an amazing thing to be awarded it. And so I went home, and I thought, right, I'm going to focus. We've got an event going on in Slovenia around the Women for Ethical AI with UNESCO, which is what I've been working on. I'm going to focus on that. And then I got a phone call on January the 22nd, sitting at home being quiet. And it was from someone who I didn't really know very well, but she was really focused on women in tech. And she said to me, have you heard about this law change? It's gonna kill women investors. And I said, oh, I've sort of seen it. Anyway, what had happened was, and I don't know whether you saw the press, but a piece of tax legislation, and as soon as anyone says tax, I'm automatically like shut off because I'm a data and tech lawyer, but a piece of tax legislation had increased the thresholds of when you can become an angel investor straight off. And they'd increased the income thresholds from 100 to 175 and the asset thresholds from 250 to 430K. And so one might look at it and say, well, it's a rich woman's problem. But the thing is, women back women founders more than double that men back women founders. And so what would happen was we'd have far fewer investments going into female founders if that law continued. That was January the 22nd. It became law on January the 31st. We couldn't do anything about that. But by January the 25th, I'd got a letter in to the Women and Equalities Committee in Parliament with 44 senior women. There's one significant name on that. It was a private letter, but she's come out and said she was on it. Because that Friday morning before the letter went in, I made a phone call. Hi, Sheridan, you don't know me, but you won the Novi Businesswoman of the Year last year, and I've won it this year, and I need to ask a favour. And I think that's the thing that sets this network apart, actually, that the trust and the reputation that Griselda has built around the community of women that is within her network is phenomenal and sets her apart and sets Novi apart. And so can I just do a round of applause for Griselda? Because I have proof. Anyway, that was Friday. The letter went in Friday night. Saturday morning, the chair of the Women and Equalities Committee in Parliament messaged me. She was irritated, not with me, but with what was being proposed. She wanted some parliamentary questions. That gave me a chink of light to know that actually there were other people, there were other women that had not noticed this change in law and that were irritated by it. Sunday morning, we had three baronesses on a call that ended with, right, this is outrageous, I'm going to go and call Jeremy. That would be the Chancellor of Exchequer. So we had 4 weeks of parliamentary questions, but all the time using our networks to build and to collaborate, and to build support, people doing data analysis, people sharing what the point. Although it had become law, we'd spotted that by March the 6th, which was the budget, that would give us the bill. I don't want to get too technical and legal because it's really boring, but it would give us the bill to change the law. Because actually what most people had thought was, you can just rip a law up, it'll be fine. But once it's on the statute books, you can't rip it up, you have to reverse it. So people were saying, well, we hadn't realised. That's the other thing I'd encourage everyone to do. Everyone has a busy day job, but actually there are things that go on that impact us, and we assume that somebody else has our back. And actually this law this change had been consulted on for 2 years. People couldn't believe that all of a sudden this group emerged. Anyway, over February half term, InvestHER emerged. Why did InvestHER emerge? Because we decided to go public with a letter, and it was the only website that we could find in 24 hours, honestly. But the name's kind of stuck. And our target was to build enough momentum to actually force the government at the time to reverse the legislation and put us back where we were. I should add as well that I was doing this pro bono because lawyers often, particularly as a tech lawyer, I struggle to find things where I can actually have an impact using my skills. So I was delighted to be able to do this, use my skills, and actually go and advocate for all of us, because it impacts every woman in business. So InvestHER is born. There was another lady, Dame Caroline Dinard. She now sits as the chair of the select committee for Department for Culture, Media and Sport. She was the MP that went public for us. She was prepared to attach her name to the public letter. And she also then said, book it in, March the 5th. We're going to hand this letter to Jeremy if we don't get the law reversed. We really need women like that are prepared to come out. You know, there are so many women parliamentarians that get problems and abuse for the decisions they make, but actually there were a group of women that were prepared to stand aside for us. And so from that point on, we used our networks to build celebrities. Mary Portas, Grace Beverley, both dropping videos, offering us support. Deborah Meaden, she came in as well. And we use each night, we would say, we need to double the signatures the following day. And so we reached over 3,000 signatures. And the Friday before the budget, we got a call. They said, you're coming to Downing Street, but the law might get reversed. And we said, what do you mean might? They said, well, how about if you come to back Downing Street on March the 7th instead for a tea party for International Women's Day? So we kept that invitation, but we didn't stand down until it got announced. But actually so on March 6th it did get announced, it did get reversed. And so there was very little, thank you, there was very little impact. It's a really great example of network, what we can achieve when we collaborate, but also there were some really annoying unintended consequences for what seem like quite innocuous pieces of law or policy, because we don't all have a level playing field. You know, I've focused on the female voice on this, but actually the argument was for all underrepresented groups because of the pay disparity that exists. So what have we done since then? Because that was only March, and I know what she's going to do. She's going to hold me to account for the rest of the year. So September, Chi Onawura raised the plight of the female founders in Parliament. InvestHER drafted the question for the Department for Science, Innovation and the Minister for Science, Innovation and Technology. So that was a significant moment. First time a minister has acknowledged it on the floor of the House. Why does this matter? It's in Parliament. Because it actually shines a light on some of these issues. And now, going forward, we have had a parliamentary reception earlier this week. We had 2 cabinet ministers attend. But what InvestHER stands for is focusing on the small things instead of the very large statements, because step by step we may bring about incremental change. And that not only that, we may turn around and realise that by a few small steps, we've had quite a big impact. But we want to be able to do that with a solution presented. Now, using legal and policy, these are very specific skills, but I'm all about using the skills that you have to then be able to deliver for maximum impact. So that's the summary of what I've been up to. Once again, this is a tremendous event, and it really was significant to be able to win the Businesswoman of the Year. And thank you, Griselda, and thank you to everyone. And if you do want to get involved in what I've been up to, then please stop me. I will be around in the bar afterwards. But have a great day, everyone, and congratulations again. Thank you.